Happy Friday to you. Good evening. Valerie Ling here. Hello, everybody. Got a story for you. I have got a story for you. The hairdresser that would. How do you decide where to go and get a haircut? And how do you plan your time around getting a haircut? Confession, I find getting haircuts a real waste of time. Now, don't read too much into it. It really doesn't say very much about my neglect of self. It probably says a lot more about having to sit still in a chair. Now, I don't know about you. For women, there seems to be this thing where getting a haircut takes a really, really long time. One horror story I have is that I was in the chair like for 4 hours. Mind you, it wasn't just a haircut. There was some package thing that I got. 4 hours. Never, ever again will I sit and endure 4 hours. And here's the thing. Not only is it a real waste of time, in my opinion, people talk to you. The people who are cutting your hair also talk to you. So, a confession to make, I don't really like being talked to. Last week on my personal retreat, the poor lady who was giving me a massage, I actually had to say, I really would rather not talk. I even put it on my form. I don't know my form, I don't want to talk. Now, if I'm going to get my hair cut, I tend to like to multitask. I'll either bring a book, I like to be able to predict, like, how long is this sitting down in the chair going to take? What is the likelihood that the person is going to talk to me? And what can I actually get done while I am getting my hair cut? So, for those of you in Australia, you might guess where I go. I go consistently to one chain of hairdressers where you don't have to make an appointment. It's pretty, no fuss, low, no frills type of thing. You check out in the window, what's the queue like? You can kind of make an assessment because just about everybody's haircut takes about 10 minutes and you're like, right, 1, 2, 3, 30 minutes before it's my turn, 40 minutes, I'm out of there. What can I do in that 30 minutes to wait? 10 minutes, I'm out of there. One chain. I only go to one chain to cut my hair. And because I like freedom, I will have a particular person that I like in the suburbs that I would go, right? So today being my day, kind of my quasi day off because I was on retreat last week, I went to a suburb and the regular person wasn't there. I'm like, but there was no queue. Did my little calculation. Oh, bingo, I'll be out of there in 10 minutes. Fantastic. Let's go and sit down. New person cuts my ears, comes to me. I'm thinking, I can tolerate that. Okay, so here's the other thing that happens. Because I really like, I don't know, personally just find getting your hair cut, it's like, whatever, just cut the hair. But when you, I shouldn't really talk about it from a gender point of view, but when you have long hair, there are many things apparently to consider with regards to how you want to get your hair done. Do you want it layered? Do you want to, So I have like just the standard cut now. I think about my late 30s, I just decided that's it. I'm just going to do short, do the bob, right? And I have tried to communicate this to the various hairdressers, and that's why it's like this one franchise chain and then the one person in each suburb because I don't have to explain myself. I used to carry a photo that says, okay, make me look like this, just like this. I don't have that photo anymore. I just haven't found the occasion to actually sit and say, okay, so anyway, so this is what happens, right? I'll say short, don't be scared, take it all off. The shorter, the better, as long as I don't look like Dora the Explorer or a boy. That's it. Everything else, I'm good to go. And the hairdresser says, yep, I've got it. And I'm like, I have heard that before, the words, I've got it, I understand. And it'll still come out like Dora the Explorer. So I'm like, that's okay, it'll grow out, whatever, do this, and, Dora Explorer will disappear. Anyway, the guy who's cutting my hair is commanding my head. I am being turned in angles that are precise And, the degrees of the tilt are so micro that I'm thinking, this is a very different experience in my budget franchised hairdresser chain. And he's like, you will stay still. I'm like, I will. He's like, freeze. And I'm like, did you say freeze? Yes. Okay, I will not move, because I also tend to go a bit tilty. I'm not quite sure what, but maybe I just can't stay still for long, and my head kind of just moves around. And anyway, this guy is just commanding my head. He's not talking to me, which is also interesting. So there are various reasons for why someone is commanding your head. They may have some very grandiose ideas about themselves, or they actually really know what they're doing. And so I do something very unusual. I have a conversation because I am now curious. I'm like, so I haven't seen you here before. The regular person isn't here. Says, oh, well, so-and-so got sick and this isn't my usual day, but I'm here and I've taken the shift. I'm like, I'm like, so what did you do before you worked here? Because he told me that he'd only been working here for 5 months. And he says, darling, I owned my own salon. I'm like, he says, for 25 years, he had his own business. Now, I'm now preparing myself thinking, COVID, the COVID story. I feel so bad. It's really, really sad when you hear of businesses that didn't survive COVID. And in my head, I'm thinking, I will not come to you every time you will cut my hair in this particular suburb now. But no, his is not a story of his business going down in COVID. He tells me that he did very, very well in the 25 years that he owned his business, made enough money, and he just decided he needed to have a different pace of life. Tells me that, he works a couple of days in this chain, only in this suburb. I'm now curious. I'm like, what hours do you work? Because I'm like, thinking, I understand, like owning your own business, like, long hours, right? So maybe now you have to work, not short hours, but, shorter. And no, his hours are pretty short. And I'm like, interesting. And then he tells me that he really is enjoying that. Sounds like he does some other things in his time when he's not cutting hair. And then he tells me that, his hours are such that he does school pickup. And I'm like, interesting. How old are your kids? And they were all like in junior primary school. And I said, it must be really nice to be able to have some flexibility, still do what you love, but be able to spend time with your kids. And he says, darling, that's what it's all about. That is what it's been all about. Now, I really like someone calling me darling, but I totally respected and admired this person's conviction and courage to have let go of their business and decided that it was time for them to have a different direction and a different pace of life. And so now we're really getting into the haircut. Okay, I'm not quite sure whether the flare came out once he revealed to me his background, because, he's now shaping this hair. This is going from this particular chain. It's still pretty expensive, actually, if you ask me. Like, it's $30 a haircut. This is now going into, I think, a $60 haircut. But, the way that the scissors are being wielded, I'm now being spun around in my chair, and, my head's being tilted in all different ways, and there's this going on. And, well, I say to him at the end of my haircut, this is remarkable. It is not Dora the Explorer, nor do I look like a boy. It's actually, if you can look, it's pretty well shaped. It's pretty amazing. And I say to him, you still got it. You still got it. And doesn't look at me, doesn't go, thanks, doesn't go, it's just a nod. The master has done his work now. Does the usual thing of asking me, would you like me to dry off your hair so that you can see how to style it? And I'm like, don't bother. It's all going to get sweaty. I've still got to do some exercise and blah, blah, blah. And he says, okay, no problem. And I think, sorry about the accent. Sorry about that. I don't really think he spoke like that. But just in my head, he's like this Disney character tilting my head like an Edward Scissorhands almost. And I think it's just just a sense of self-assuredness and conviction that this is his thing. He's really good at it, had a business for 25 years, made his money, decided that he's got some different priorities right now, does what he loves at a pace and at a in a setup that works for him and his family. And I was so grateful. Will I be going back? Oh yeah. Did I feel like incredibly privileged? Yes. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyway, I just wanted to share that story of my experience getting my hair cut today, and how someone has made some choices to slow down, pace down, not because they were, I don't know whether he was burnt out, but for better tomorrows and for values that are important to him. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, and I will catch you soon.